What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Hardworking Happy Hour. I'm Sean.
And I'm Catherine. And as always, we'll be breaking down all things trades, entrepreneurship, and turning your creativity into a passion career.
And this week, we have a very, very special group of guests for a very special occasion. What is it?
It's Father's Day.
It is Father's Day week, and we are going to have my father and
my
your
father.
Yeah. Which I think is going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how TV ready they are.
I don't know. They're not used to all this
newfangled
hubbub. All this technology.
Yeah.
The camera in their face.
Yep.
We got some bright lights.
Yep.
Microphones in their face. We'll see how they handle the pressure, but
but it's going to be fun.
I think it's going to be good. I'm really excited. I think both of our dads are very interesting people and have very interesting perspectives. So I'm really excited to hear what
both
they have to say.
Both have extremely gray hair, which means wisdom. So we'll see if that rings true.
That feels like a little personal.
Well, people say it's because of wisdom, and I got a lot of gray hair. So, and I've been known to drop some wisdom bombs on this podcast. So, must be true. I don't know. But I think it's going to be really cool because they were both in the trades, and, now look at us. Now we are.
And they formed these humans.
I think that was
sitting right here.
I think that was our mothers. Did that?
Okay. Mothers formed us. Dads shaped us? Is
I
that more of a
I think that'll work.
thing?
That'll work. Yeah. They did shape the people. They at least helped. They at least helped shape the people that we are now.
Exactly.
And probably not a coincidence that they were in the trades. Now we're in the trades.
Yep.
So we're gonna try to see how that all shakes out. We're gonna see if we can draw some conclusions from these upcoming interviews.
Yeah. See if we can figure it all out.
So we're gonna start with my dad. We're gonna have them on one at a time.
Yep.
My dad, then your dad, and it's gonna be fun. So let's do it.
Let's see what they have to say.
All right. So we have right here with us in the podcast studio my own dad. My own dad.
Everybody has one, and I'm his.
Yep, that is right. And we've already talked about you a little bit on the show.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know. I think you've listened to a little bit of it, but we've talked about how you were in the trades, and I worked with you for a while, and all that kind of stuff. And just thought it would be fun to have you on here. And there's probably something to the fact that you were in the trades. I'm in the trades now. Both of your other sons are in the trades now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what happened? What went wrong? Why?
Well, you heard the saying, the fruit don't fall far from the trees.
Yep, that is true.
So we didn't get out in the world. We just stayed in the trades.
Yep.
Of course, you got out there with all this stuff.
Yeah.
Videos.
Yeah, I guess so.
You're actually a personality that's in the trades. You're only in the trades so you can be a personality.
Yeah,
otherwise, he probably wouldn't be in the trades.
That's true. It especially in the summertime, it starts to get a little too hot.
Man.
Yeah.
So, but I think it would be interesting to ask you a couple questions about, how you started. You were obviously in a different era. Totally different landscape.
The old times.
Totally different.
Yeah.
The ages of the yellow pages and all that kind of stuff. So it's a totally different world now than it was then. But a lot of stuff I think still is the same. A lot of stuff will always be the same in the trades. So
Yeah. So how did you get started? How did your career start, blossom into the trades?
Well, I've heard that a lot of people start the same place. I think Sean started like this one day. You're working for somebody, and it's the summertime, you're sweating your butt off, and you say, why is it I'm doing all the work and he's making all the money?
Yeah.
So you have about 2 months of side work, and you say, you know what, I'm quitting, I'm going on my own. And you get all that done in 2 weeks. And then you just don't give up.
Just kept going.
Just kept going. I mean, well, they kicked me out of medical school, and then I didn't get a chance to go back to that. So I just stuck with this.
Is that true?
I have a doctorate.
Really?
I have an honorary doctorate at the Philadelphia Museum of Art.
Oh, yeah?
You know that?
No, does that come with like a membership or something? Like
Yeah.
a little.
Yeah, well, see,
little
I was-
plaque or
I was
something?
going to say, does it come with a title? We should call you Dr. Vox.
Yeah, we could. No, he's lying. Obviously.
Wait a minute, wait a minute. I'm not. No, I'm not. I should have brought the letter. I get the letters addressed to me.
Okay.
Dr. Vox.
Okay.
Okay. And
Well,
what happened was when I was renewing my application
Yeah.
at the counter, and she's like, "Okay, you get this, you get that," and she goes, "Okay, yeah, let's bring up your box, yeah." And then she looks at me, she goes, "Is that Dr. Vox?" And I said, "Yes, it is."
All right. I'll have to look into that, because I'm already a minister, so
Yeah.
I guess I
right.
could be a doctor.
Yeah.
You were, if I remember this story correctly, you were working for a fence company right before you went out on your own.
Correct.
And interesting side fact, when I bought my house, they had all the receipts from like everything that they'd ever done. And they had a receipt from Delanco Fence from 1978. And you were like, yeah, I must have put that fence in. So that was kind of an interesting
funny.
little circle back. But
Yeah.
so what led you? It was just that, you felt like you wanted to explore more opportunities running your own business. Like why leave a job and start a business?
It wasn't the smartest thing I ever did.
Yeah.
Let's see. Back then, let me think.
Was I born yet? I wasn't born yet.
No,
Yeah. Okay.
no. I wasn't even married a year, and Mommy was pregnant with Robert.
Okay.
And it was that hot summer day where, the boss is making all the money, I'm doing all the work. And I decided I've been looking for an out, you know what I mean? And James, your uncle, was doing roofing, subcontracting roofing down the shore.
Mm-hmm.
And so here I was, just married, Mara's pregnant with Robert. I'm pissed off at my job. At the time I quit, I was making $7.50 an hour, which was like the big time.
Yeah.
And so I quit and I started working with Uncle James.
Mm-hmm.
I gave up collecting unemployment, free money in the winter, to drive all the way to the shore to freeze my butt off and do roofing.
In the winter down the shore.
In the winter down the shore, yeah.
And how long did that last?
I don't think it lasted a year,
Yeah.
but we had like different visions. You know what I mean? Had a family.
Yeah.
He had a pickup truck and a six-pack. He didn't need anything else.
Yeah.
So we just had different ideas of what we wanted. And I wanted to feed my kids.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. That's important.
You've done good.
Yeah. So you were working with your brother-in-law, my uncle, and after about a year that didn't work out, so you kind of went out on your own. And what was like the hardest thing about getting started on your own, not having anything really to fall back on, just kind of having to make it? You have a family at this point. What was the hardest thing to get started and just keep everything going?
Well, it wasn't hard to get started because I already started. You know what I mean? I was just in the middle of, a transition. But I think the worst thing and the best thing was I didn't have an option.
Yeah.
So that was like,
Necessity.
yeah, I mean, I didn't have an option to do anything else. I mean, I was like married, had a kid, had another kid on the way, and they got hungry and, ran out of heat. And so you needed money to do that. And so I just never gave up.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the secret.
And
No choices.
when you were getting started, what was your biggest lead generation thing? Was it all word of mouth? Was it was it the Yellow Pages? Was it the church circular? Did you have plans for these things, or you just kind of did one job, hoped for a call? What was the strategy?
There wasn't one.
Yeah.
There was no strategy.
Yeah.
There was just, got to get another job. There wasn't, you could put money in the Yellow Pages, but I didn't really have money for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you know what? A guy told me, he was a plumber in town, and he gave me my first kitchen job. Okay, I'd never done the kitchen before, and he like trusted me to say, "Oh, you could do it." I need to find somebody. But he should say, you just do a good job. You know what I mean? Make sure it's done right, and you'll never be out of work.
Yeah.
He says you might not get rich. He says, but you'll never be out of work. And this guy, he didn't advertise in Yellow Pages or anything. You had to know his phone number. He was like the local plumber in town.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Somehow, stupidly, I believed that.
And was it true that you never ran out of work and you never got rich?
I never got rich. It depends how you define rich, though. You know what I mean? So, I always had work, and when I didn't have work, I always could think of something to do. Yeah, all the work we did at our house was in between jobs. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I was never, when you're in this business of always having to create something, you always got ideas. I mean, there isn't enough time to do them all.
Yeah.
And when you're slow in work, it's actually a break because then you get to do stuff on your own house. Otherwise, you can see the house we would have lived in.
Yeah. And I know there was lots of plans like the kitchen addition that's been in planning since probably the 90s. But you're still talking about it.
I had our neighbor's an architect, and he started drawing up plans for that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. But that didn't pan out. But I still have hopes of that happening.
Yeah.
I'm still
There's always more plans
working.
than there is time to get them done.
Yeah.
I can definitely attest to that. And
Speaking of plans that didn't get done,
yeah.
we're missing a crucial part of our happy hour podcast.
Yeah.
I was
Wine.
gonna ask,
Would
I
you
didn't
like
wanna
some
say
wine?
that.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
got you, because we know you like red wine.
Is that a parting gift?
Uh,
Yeah.
sure.
You have to drink
Just
a little
kidding.
bit now, and then you can take it. Well, you don't have to drink it, but
Whoa,
I heard you
pool
liked
hall.
red wine.
Yes, you're right.
All right. Well, we got
That's red.
some fine, we got red cups to match
Red
it.
cup,
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yep.
Excellent.
I don't
know how to
do
work.
this.
Yeah. Do you know?
You should get the bottles. It can't be that hard.
Probably.
I got
not.
it.
Contractor.
I got
You ever see the
We
decks
got
you guys do? There you go.
More?
I don't know. That's good, I
I
guess.
don't think anybody wants to drink a full solo
yeah.
cup. I'm not sure.
There you go.
There you go. Thank you.
But speaking of
Okay.
sayings that your plumber told you or whatever, I feel like we could do a whole entire episode on just sayings that you always say, and now I kind of find myself saying. So,
Bad.
cheers.
Cheers.
Hey. Cheers.
Cheers. All right. So since this is a Father's Day episode, what's your best fatherly advice now that your son has started his own company and has a son to take care of and go through all the struggles that you went through as a business owner? What's your best fatherly advice?
That I could give him for his son? Okay. That's a good question. Let's see. I would say go all in. Everything you have.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you don't hold back anything. I mean, and when you love your family and you love your kids, it's not like that's hard. It's pretty much automatic.
Yeah.
And so don't think there's something more important. Your jobs are important. They bring in the money and stuff like that. But your family, is a big part of who you are and how you remain whole and as human as a person. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this stuff just probably goes to your head.
Yeah.
You gotta keep your feet on the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good advice. And I think since I became a dad, it definitely puts things in a different perspective, and you realize you're working for, something else, not just yourself or, growing the business selfishly or, for your own gain. It's, there's still a lot of parts of it that I'm doing because I'm passionate about it, but it puts it in a different perspective when you have somebody that counts on you that, you got to make sure things stay afloat and things go well and you can put food on the table and all that kind of stuff. So it's a weird feeling to go full circle on that.
Yeah.
We all do,
Yeah.
whether you like it or not.
I think another funny story is that when I started my own business, it was cutting lawns and doing all that kind of stuff. And I just did it with a push mower and a weed whacker and a blower. And I was using your truck, a 98 Ford F-250, which I believe you...
88 and 88.
Yeah, that's what I said, isn't
It's
it?
98.
Oh,
I think it's a 98, yeah.
88. Same year I was born.
When we went to pick up that truck, brand new pickup truck, and went
Wasn't
to pick
Mom
it up,
pregnant?
she was pregnant, and Sean was sitting inside Mommy's tummy. Little did we know,
Yeah.
Oh, that's
it was the foundation of your...
Yeah, I
That's a
drove
real
that thing
full
for
circle.
probably like I don't know, maybe a year. And I was just cruising it around with a lawnmower in the back, cutting lawns when I was 19 or whatever, and it did the trick. I made enough money to buy a little bit of a nicer truck, and saved up from there, bought a little bit of a nicer truck, and it was a good foundation. But I always thought that was pretty cool that Mom was pregnant with me, driving home from the dealership in a truck that eventually I would be driving. And by that time, the fuel gauge was broken. I ran out of gas in it many times and all that kind of stuff. But it was
We should have
set me up good.
contacted Ford. That would have been a great commercial.
Hey, it's not
That
too
honestly
late.
would have been a
Well, the
great
truck's
not
commercial.
too late.
The truck's gone now.
Oh, they can find one that looks just like it. This is Hollywood. They can they can make all this stuff up. Ford, if
Yeah.
you're listening, give us a call. We'll give you a very reasonable offer. Yeah. What other? I know you had a couple other questions written down or talking points.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting that all three of your boys have now gone into the trades. Did you, with your upbringing, who trained you? Was it your dad that trained you, or did you just fall into this, or was it something that you intentionally passed down?
Nothing was intentional. My dad didn't pass on any of those kinds of skills necessarily. He was a little out of the picture most of our lives, unfortunately. Let's just leave it at that. And so I was just, a regular guy going to school, partying, carrying on, and not doing anything useful. And, went to a few too many parties. And then, I, started to say, I got to stop this. This is just not good, healthy, mentally, or anything. So I sort of cleaned up and got out of that scene. You know what I mean? And so then, because, they didn't take me in medical school, like I said,
It's close. I think you just missed the cutoff for that, probably.
I think getting kicked out of high school kind of iced it.
Yeah.
That was it. Well, no, I wouldn't think so. But anyway, so I could just always work. You could always get a job as a helper. And as a helper, I worked for a guy who built houses. Built a bunch of houses here in Palmyra. Bill Moyer was a builder. I worked with this other guy, Ray, and I could do anything he told me. You know what I mean? And all this stuff is pretty elementary. You know what I mean? Like, nailing something down and so forth. And so it's easy to catch on if you want to learn. And I did. So we built houses, we did additions, we did all kinds of things like that. And then, of course, hot day, I'm doing all the work, he's making all the money. Plus, I was a little spaced out. You know what I mean? So the mix wasn't right. I quit that. And then I just been scratching and crawling ever since.
Do you think that you had a good foundation of knowledge before you went out on your own, or maybe you thought you did and then you realized once you were out on your own that you really didn't know anything? Or did you go into it not knowing that you were going to have to figure it out along the way?
Like I said, I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. And this whole business is a learn as you go thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember your first deck. You know what I mean? And seeing you do that. And not that you would laugh at it, but compared to what you're doing now, you'd say this is like preschool decking 101, compared to what you're doing now.
And it took forever, and,
Well, you just learn one thing, you get an idea for the next one. Next thing you know, you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how life works, I guess,
Yeah, I always explain it like that. People kind of, they reach out and they say, how did you learn how to do this super complicated stuff? But when you really think about it, it's like, it's all very basic things that you just kind of build on top of each other. And a lot of the stuff that we're that we're doing isn't necessarily like advanced building techniques. It's just a creative idea doing the same technique that you would do to build something very standard, but we're just kind of rethinking it a little bit to get creative with it. But at the core of it, it's pretty simple stuff that anybody can pick up, and I think it really takes the right attitude to just know going into it that your main job is going to be problem solving along the way. No matter how much you know, you're always going to encounter something that is a novel problem that you have, and you're going to just need to find a solution for it. So, I feel like I always had that within me. Maybe I got that from you. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I remember one time somebody asked me, like, this little googly-eyed guy, you know what I mean, who was maybe an accountant or a banker or something. You know what I mean? You're like, wow, like, how did you learn to do all these different things, right? I guess he was looking for some big answer like you, maybe. But you know what the answer is? Failure.
Yeah.
I've made so many mistakes. I've made all of them at least 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
But if you don't give up and you get back up on the horse or whatever you want to call it, you'll make it. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. It's just you don't give up.
Yeah.
And
you'll figure it out.
You'll figure it out. Yeah, you'll figure it out.
And as you get further along, you leave a job, you start making a little bit more money, and then once you get like a little bit further down the road, then it's like, well, I really don't have any other options now. I got to keep going. And I think that was kind of what I had just bought a house when I decided to give up doing landscaping and all that stuff. So I didn't really think about it too much in the moment, but it was just jump in and figure out how to swim while you're in there.
Yeah.
It's worked out pretty good so far, I guess.
Yeah.
Still here. So
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our last question is, you were like one of Sean's only bosses. So what was it like being Sean's boss for a little while?
I was Sean's boss. That was so long ago. God, let me think. Well, I was all their bosses.
Yeah. All of your kids.
And
yeah.
so that could explain why none of them work for me anymore.
I had the shortest tenure of anybody.
stint.
Yeah.
Well, should I tell them the real story or just make something up for your listeners?
I don't know what the real story is, but yeah, go for it.
You don't remember either, right?
No, this was like right out of high school. So what?
Yeah.
I guess 15 years ago.
Okay.
Jeez. Yeah, and this is right around graduation time. It was like exactly 15 years ago.
That's right.
And I think like day after graduation, I went to work. It wasn't even like a week vacation or anything. It was.
Oh, come on.
It might have been maybe like a 3-day weekend or something.
Yeah.
I think your vacation started when you went to work.
Yeah, probably.
That's why you got fired.
Yeah. That could be true. I wasn't ready for a full-time career at that point, I don't think.
Yeah, that's the same. Well, here's a short story.
Yeah.
Okay. He had a girlfriend at the time. And when you're in high school and you got these young love kind of things, you know what I mean? They get in your head. And so I guess the best way to put it, and the nicest way to put it, was he was love drunk. And he would come into work and he just couldn't. Yeah, I guess there was something going on. But he just couldn't pay attention to anything. So you'd say,
Preoccupied.
huh?
He was preoccupied. He was busy.
Oh,
mentally.
he was 3 sheets to the wind. But that was it. And I'd say, like, hey, Sean, listen, go out to the truck and get this and this and this. All right. Or I'd say, we're going to be working over here. So, and you give people jobs. Say, I want you to take care of this. I want you to start framing that out and put this beam up. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll be back. And you come back and he's like, Sean, yeah. I said, you going to do the thing? Oh, yeah. I mean, he wasn't on drugs or anything, but he was, come on, man. So I was just accredited to like some girl. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. And,
Go ahead.
Well, then that just kept happening. I said, then I'd be home and he'd be like, Sean, listen, you got to pay attention. You got to like,
Yeah.
And his buddy was working with us too.
Tom, right?
Yeah. And after saying it over and over and over, and like, come home thinking, Sean's not going to, what's with him, And finally I had to say, Sean, look, this is about working. You know what I mean? We got to get stuff done. And so, I'm going to have to let you go. Maybe you need to do something else, right? And this was like maybe the beginning of November. And you know what he said to me? Remember?
No, I don't remember at all.
He says, Dad, can't you just keep me on till Thanksgiving? Like,
That seems reasonable.
Just keep paying me anyway,
Yeah.
even though I know I'm not going to make it. So,
I mean, I could just be a helper at that point, you know?
you were then, but you weren't helping.
Yeah. All right. Well, my follow-up to that is,
Oh, well.
Catherine, now that it's 15 years later, Catherine, you work with me every day now.
Yeah.
Do you think that it was, as he said, something about I was preoccupied with a woman on my brain, or do you think it's just because I still do that?
Yeah.
It might just be my ADHD because I still can't.
Oh, you can blame it on anything
be.
you want.
Yeah.
Well, if you're not getting nothing done in work, you're like,
I learned that I wasn't a
let
good
you go.
helper. I got to either be the boss or I'm not going to make it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably true.
I looked at you and said, I need his job. He's just got to boss everybody around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And that's
Yeah.
why I don't work for you.
Yeah.
oh yeah, that wouldn't work out either. But we realized after that both brothers went back and forth a long time, as many people do in family businesses. You know, it works out for a little, you know, then they quit or they get fired. Then they're like, oh, it's going to be different this time. They come back. But I think we can both be proud of the fact that it just happened once, and then it was done, and
You both moved on.
That's right.
we both moved
And look,
on.
look
Well, I
at
had a
you
lot
now.
of experience firing all your other brothers many times, and when it got to you, it's like I knew what I was doing. This was not going to go on forever.
Yep. And it was
And a good thing.
yeah. And I guess that was like I guess I was still probably 18. Yeah, I was 18 at that point. Or I might have
Yeah.
just maybe turned 19.
Yes.
And yeah. That sent me on the journey that led me here today, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Community college for I don't know, 5-6 years or whatever it was.
What? He went to community college because we had a rule around the house
Yep.
that if you didn't go to school, you had to get a job and pay rent. Okay, so he went to
probably
school,
cheaper
so
to
he
go to school, yeah.
he had to pay any room and board.
Yeah, I took just about every class that you could take without getting a degree there. And but it was valuable time spent learning
Yeah.
about myself, and you know, led us here today. So
It
was a
all
good
works
thing.
out. It
Yeah.
all works out.
Yep.
You just stay at it. It'll work
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
cool. Well, yeah, I feel like, you know, maybe this can be a yearly thing. I feel like there's lots more to talk about. But we do also have Skip Lippincott that we need to
Yeah.
get on the show.
Yep.
Catherine's
Yeah, I wanna
dad.
hear
So thanks for coming on, Dad. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks
Thanks for
for
having
coming.
me.
Hi, Dad.
Hello, my youngest.
Welcome to our podcast.
Well, it's fun to be here.
All right, everyone. This is my dad, Skip. Dad, you were in the trades. This is a podcast. Have you listened to this podcast?
No, I haven't. But I hardly look at computer stuff anyhow. I'm not
Yeah.
computer literate.
All right. Well, a little bit of background on my dad is well, we'll get into your beginnings, but you were a boat builder first, and then you started another business where you were a builder of other things. What would you consider that?
Marine canvas products.
Marine canvas.
Yeah, soft marine canvas products.
Yeah.
Covers and sunshades and Bimini's Dodgers. And we did interior cushions and anything you can put through a sewing machine.
Okay. So a builder
I
of
was a seamstress.
a seamstress. Perfect. And he's also just a hobby carpenter. He builds.
We should probably mention that
We're in his
we're
shop
in
right
his
now.
shop
yeah.
right now. Yeah.
Sorry for the mess.
No.
It
It-
really
it-
adds to the
Yeah. It
to the
just
mystique of
looks
it.
like we use it, so it's
Yeah.
great. All right,
We
Dad,
don't
you
know
got to
what, like,
sit
any of this
closer to
stuff
the
is.
microphone also. Or like pull the mic closer to your face. There you go. Perfect. All right, so when you were first starting out, what was your first job?
My first job
Yeah.
was working for the Boat Works, which was a family business my father started with his brother. And it was just building boats. They were small racing boats. And my father and uncle sailed all over the world, and eventually I ended up sailing quite a bit, racing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got into bigger boats. And then eventually my father sold the business, and I started in the marine canvas business because it was nice, clean, and wasn't fiberglass. It didn't smell. It didn't itch,
Yeah.
and didn't have the labor problems of a big company, or not a big company, but probably 20 employees.
Yeah.
I was kind of done with that, so I started out myself, and then I ended up with some employees after that.
That makes sense. So, Pop-Up, my grandfather, he was also a builder. So,
Right.
as a kid, you just grew up
I grew
learning
around.
all sorts of building,
Yeah, I was
everything?
Yeah, well, my father was very clever. He was, I mean, I asked him to build me a go-kart one time, and he built me a go-kart. I mean, he built one of the first snow blowers I ever saw back in the 60s. And, he's always making stuff like that
Yeah.
because they had a pretty good shop at the boat works. We could do metal work, fiberglass work, woodwork back then.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually fiberglass. But you could just pretty much build anything you wanted there.
Yeah.
So
That's funny. That's how I feel about my childhood, because I would just be like, Dad, build me this thing. And he would just come up with it.
it was a lot of fun doing that stuff, and I still kind of do it now. So
I have
Yeah.
like a million questions for you. Because I don't know anything about boats or how to build them, but I would say my most intimate knowledge of any boat was just the one that happened to be in here when we recorded the podcast for a couple weeks. And that was like a really small one, but it was still so interesting how, you can just kind of like build this thing in this shop, and it, you put it in the water and it's not going to sink.
yeah,
It hasn't sunk yet. No.
And I guess it should be noted, I feel like isn't there the Lippincott 30?
Yeah.
It's like a very famous boat, and that was your dad's, that was under his company, I guess, that kind of started that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But my dad designed it. My grandfather did smaller boats, racing boats, and then my
Okay.
dad built.
Yeah,
My dad designed the cruiser.
When I was there, I wanted to get into the bigger boats because people were going to bigger boats. Families were, wanted to go sailing with a small race boat. The husband's off sailing and the wife is left home watching the kids or taking them to a pool or something. But people started buying boats as a family activity, and I kind of saw that and wanted to get into that. So that's when I designed the 30, and we built about 100 of them.
Was that like, did you see that change because of Mike and Matt, my brothers, or
No,
was that before
it was
then?
generally. I mean, we saw old customers of ours moving into bigger boats.
Okay.
And there was still a lot of loyalty to the small boat racing, but it was not as big as it used to be.
Yeah.
And now it's funny now because now it's getting bigger now for some reason. I don't know. But and I wanted a bigger boat too.
Was
Yeah.
that something that when you designed it, I feel like a lot of times things change in a business when one generation is maybe aging out of it, and then there's a new generation coming up that's kind of like, somebody that's maybe on the precipice of getting out of it is like, we build these smaller boats. That's kind of what we do. I don't want to try doing something completely new. Was that kind of the situation?
Sort of. My father and his brother and there was 8 kids in my father's family, so, and 6 of them were boys, and they all sailed. They all raced. So to build the boats was really just an excuse to keep sailing.
Yeah.
And they were very, very successful at what they were doing. But I wasn't interested in sailing or racing that much. I wanted to do some cruising and do some big boat stuff. So that's why I sort of got into doing the bigger boats.
Just a natural progression.
Yeah, yeah.
And now when you went from, so you said that they were closing up that business, or did they sell it, or?
They just kind of phased out of it.
Okay. And you were looking to kind of get into a different kind of thing.
We started building the 30s in conjunction with the smaller boats. And the 30 just took off, so it was just sort of, phased out those small boats and went into the big boats.
And then when they wanted to sell the whole business and you decided to go out on your own and do your new business, that was just out of necessity? You needed to do something else?
I saw an opportunity. Well, first off, my father wanted to retire. And anytime you have a business, a boat business, there's you sell it if you can. It's not an easy thing to do, but we had somebody who wanted it, and it just kind of worked out that way. One other thing that really I used as an excuse to go along with the sale of the business was New Jersey was about to implant some EPA regulations that were going to be really tough on boat builders, styrene emissions. And I just didn't think we would be able to comply with them for the amount of equipment. I mean, it was millions of dollars of infrastructure to apply, to keep regulated. So I thought it was a good idea to get out, and I was ready.
Yeah.
And it wasn't my call anyhow; it was my father's call. But I was fine with it. I had, you kind of deal with what you got.
Yeah. So when you wanted to retire 2 years ago or a year ago, I begged you to give me your business. Was it kind of like a situation like that where you wanted this business and your father said, no, you don't want this business?
No. I had grown up in the business. I mean, I started working at the boatworks when I was probably 12. Illegally, I guess. But, I still was doing odd jobs and stuff like that. So I've been in the business the whole time. You kind of wanted to come in cold.
Yeah.
And it's kind of hard to do that.
That's fair.
I think you would have had a hard time. I know you could have done it, but I think it would have been pretty difficult to jump in. And it probably would have meant me having to keep working for another 4 years.
And it should be noted, out of all, I have 3 siblings, there's 4 of us, and I'm the only one that hasn't worked for you. So that is a fair assumption.
And 2 of the other 3 wanted the business too. So
yeah.
Because we just talked about this, I am the youngest of 3, and both of my brothers went back and forth working for my dad many times, hired, fired, quit, rehired. But by the time it came to me, it only took one time. When we worked together, it lasted, maybe 4 months, not even 2 months, maybe. And that was it. And then we cut ties. And do you think that was, or it just so happened that like with Catherine's age, by the time she would have like kind of worked with you, you were getting out of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she had been in Alabama, California. I hadn't been in the area in a long time, so
yeah,
it wasn't like you knew what was going on here. Back day to day.
Yeah, both of my brothers worked for you for a long time. They both worked for a long time, and Courtney worked. I think Courtney was the only one that was fired. Correct?
She was eased out. I won't say she was fired. No, she actually wanted to do something else. It was. She could have stayed if she had wanted to.
Do you feel like with building entire boats and then also having something like doing all of the canvas work, I think in construction, a lot of people look at home builders as like, wow, that's so cool. It's like the biggest thing, like you're building these huge houses. And I think a lot of times people like expect a level of like success with that. Like, wow, you must be so successful because you're building entire houses. But it's also the thing that the most things can go wrong with. There's so many different things going on. There's like, you're dealing with every single trade. There's no specialization. Did you find that going down to something like that was sort of niche was easier, more profitable, all of that stuff?
It was a smaller business, so it was easier to handle fluctuations.
Yeah.
Boat building was, even back then, it was very competitive. There was a lot of boat builders, not so many. There was a lot of small boat builders back when we were building our boats. Now it's just a couple big companies. It's similar to Home Depot, your box stores and stuff like that. So it would have been hard for us to, I think, remain in the industry because everything was going to such big, huge companies, and we were a small company.
Yeah.
So I was kind of fortunate. You know, things have always seemed to work out for me.
Yeah.
I always kind of end up in a good spot. And I think, you know, doing this small niche business, which, you know, I didn't make a lot of money, but I made, you know, I made a living, and you know, kept my girls out of jail.
Yeah.
and the boys too. But you know, I was very happy with what I never set out to make $1 million. I just wanted to be happy and have a nice family and a comfortable living, which I achieved.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is the Father's Day episode. I'm not a father. Sean's a father. Do you have any good like fatherly advice for a young father who's well, he didn't just start his own business. He's had his own business, but a young business owner with a young family?
Just make sure you have time for them.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
you know, you don't want to spend your whole time working. You don't want to spend your whole time with your family. It's a balance.
Yeah.
And listen to your wife.
From what I hear, you're really the expert on that.
I am. I know how to listen to my wife.
I have one more question for you. That so Catherine wanted to buy your business or get handed your business, or she wanted to take over your business, and you were like, you know, I don't want to do that, and you know, you probably would have felt the obligation to make sure that transition went well. How do you feel she went from, by all, you know, society measures, a really successful job, commercial real estate, she was doing lease something or other, you know, you probably don't really totally know either, but it seems really successful and, you know, powerful, to leave that to work for a deck and patio company. And I guess that wasn't immediately working in a van, but now it's come to that. It seemed like you and Linda were both like really supportive of that. Was that just like what were your feelings about that? To get into the trades, work for a small company, go from something super stable.
She wasn't happy at the other job.
Yeah.
I mean, she tolerated it. She put on her best face with it, but she's a lot happier doing what she's doing now. She just loves it. So you got to support that.
Did you think I was a little crazy when I said I was going to quit my job to be a deck builder?
No, I didn't. No, I thought it's great. You got to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And I've always loved people who worked with their hands.
Yeah.
You know, sitting in a computer, sitting at a desk is, you know, people do it. It's fine. You make a good living at it. But I've always respected people who work with their hands.
Yeah. It's something that it will never, to quote something that I've said on the podcast before, my dad always used to say, every year they're building more houses and everyone that's built gets 1 year older. So there's always going to be a demand for it. And it's something that, you know, that is tangible, that is a skill that you can really take with you. You can work for a company and get trained in this very specific thing, but then you get laid off and it's like, well, I only know how to do this one thing at this company. But working with your hands, it's something that you can take everywhere, and it's always something that's going to be valuable. So, and she really takes to it really quickly, which I was not shocked by, but we've had other employees that didn't take to it as easily in a much longer period of time. So it's been good. She must have gotten.
We couldn't get her to do anything around the house, but she'll go slop concrete around.
You got to pull out the camera.
Yeah, that's the trick. That is the trick. Yeah. Also, it should be noted, once again, we forgot about the drinks. We are drinking Skip's signature drink. They're called the Rum Grumpy. All of his grandchildren call him Grumpy, so it's named the Rum Grumpy. It is rum, tonic, and lime. And it should also be noted that we did have this before on the podcast, and it didn't taste like this at all. I made a very bad version. Yeah. My dad made a much better version. Yeah, this definitely tastes like cream soda. I've had more practice. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Dad, for coming on. My pleasure. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. Thank you. Thank you. You too. Oh, thanks. And you.
And you in the background here, we
Yeah.
have Sean's father.
All right.
Hey everyone, just a quick note from Editing Catherine. We actually forgot to record an outro for this episode. I think we were a little too distracted and having some fun with our dads. So I hope you enjoyed meeting them. We think they're very interesting people. They're our dads. Of course we do. So I just wanted to end this episode by saying Happy Father's Day, everyone. I hope you all had a really nice day with your family or relaxing or doing whatever you wanted to do on Father's Day. So this has been the Hardworking Happy Hour. We will see you next week.